Just getting started, folks. Just give me a second. Yeah. Yes. Eddie, 100%, my friend. All right, let's see if I can try to help the IG folks. I think, there maybe? Let's see. And then I'll try to reposition stuff. Because I still haven't figured out Instagram. So I apologize for all the YouTubers, kickers, Twitchers. Okay. Let's just move this just a little bit more. Sweet. Then I'm going to try to frame stuff in the IG stuff. But then people that are on YouTube and elsewhere, you can see the whole screen. And the whole screen, we're going to continue to show all this other good stuff. Like the Claude Code. Actually, let me just share this with these IGers. Huh? No. No! Come on, Google. No, Google. Separate views. Cool. This is our Rust clone thing or something. Not sure exactly what to call this yet. And then we have open code as well. We'll get into that. And there's just a bunch of things. Okay. Well, I'll trying to get perfectly centered here for IG. This is how much I love Instagram. Just for you guys. Okay, cool. Let me see, YouTubers are joining in. That's great. Oh, where's my chat? Right. Like 1,000 things. Chat. Cool. By the way, I don't think that this chat is bound to IG. So I'm gonna, for some reason, Here, let's actually try this. Let's see. Does this show up on IG? Yeah, I don't think so. I think for some reason, it's just firing to YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. But, yeah. Anyway. Okay, we got this going. Sorry, folks. We're almost there. And then we're going to get into it. Okay. All right. That's pretty good. Guess I should stop rocking my musical tunes. So for today, what we're going to talk about are just principally two things. We're going to talk about the dangers that we have with the Claude Code leak, and in particular, if you're not an expert developer, the high order bit is stop using Claude Code, at least in the interim. Just do yourself a favor, stop using it. Don't do anything. Don't update it. Don't log into it. Just give us a second to go through all the stuff and then take some action. And also, you don't have to trust me. I'm going to try to show you some articles that have come out, including something that literally just came out an hour or so ago. But I strongly recommend for anyone that's not an expert software developer, you find an expert software developer that you deeply trust and get guidance from them in addition to the guidance that I'm giving you. So you don't have to trust me. The only thing I'm hoping you can trust me about is this is a real thing, and if you don't pay close attention right now, you could be compromised in a very serious way, and that's not going to be fun. I've lived through and experienced several of these myself, where I just didn't know better, and I clicked on the wrong link, or I downloaded the wrong thing. And once you're infected, let me tell you, it's sometimes even, if they rootkit your machine, it's you can't even just like reinstall the operating system. I mean, you have to go to extreme levels. And what makes it even worse is that if you are on a network that's connected to other machines, you could potentially infect those other machines too, and that's where it starts to really spiral out of control. That's the stuff that you didn't just infect your machine, you've infected 10, 100 of your friends, and it's gone bonkers. This type of thing has happened before. So the first and most important thing is you don't have to believe a word that I'm saying, but just please stop using Claude Code until you have a moment to understand what's going on so you can decide what to do. And what's interesting is I typed a message on this, but I'm not seeing my message show up. Hello? Chat. Oh, okay, it is. Sorry, I'm just blind. All right. Yeah, so we're going to talk about how the Claude Code leak hurts you, and also some of the wacky stuff that Anthropic is starting to do, including this gem that Anthropic just dropped on us, I don't know, like an hour ago? I'll show you guys this. This is from TechCrunch. Okay, it was like 2 hours ago. Anthropic says Claude Code subscribers will now need to pay extra for OpenClaw usage. So cool. Anthropic leaks the Claude Code source because of their own screw up, and now all of us have to pay more. Sweet. Well played, Anthropic. That is not wonderful. And I'm not super thrilled with the way that Anthropic is dealing with this. There's a bunch of different ways to deal with this, I think. And I understand that there is a lot of egg on their face. I fully grok all of that. Hold on one second. I've got some inbound stuff that's probably high priority here. Okay, cool. I'm getting live feedback from some experts. I'm going to leave their names out of this, but I'm going to keep them. Let me just. So I'm talking live to one of my most trusted security experts, who's actually more of a security expert than I am. And he's giving me live feedback on the stream as we're going through this. So he's basically saying that we want to be careful, essentially, and I agree with this, about TechCrunch and the things that they're saying, for sure. And it's not entirely clear how much we can trust all of these sources. I agree with all of this. This is happening so fast, and there's a bunch of people that have particular agendas. So some of them may not be telling you the truth. Our goal is to protect you. That is it. That's the only agenda here. I'm likely to going to get some stuff wrong, but thankfully I have expert people chatting me up in the background, helping me course correct, and we'll try not to make any mistakes. But no, B, just so you know, it's there's another article that I was looking at earlier, and it's not entirely clear. But so this is, let me circle back. This article here is something that just came out a couple hours ago. And basically, Anthropic is now going to charge people extra if they're using OpenClaw, or essentially anything that's not using the Claude Code UX, UI. And yeah, I'm not going to ignore you, B. Sorry, some people are whispering some funny stuff into my ears. Okay. Now, to be clear, I think that there's many reasons why Anthropic is probably doing this. Some of it is actually good, for real, is they are trying to force you to use the Claude Code path and not some of these external things, partially as a measure of trust, because they're controlling it and they're not going to, I think, intentionally send you down the wrong path. And we don't know about some of these other bad actors. And for as much as I'm disappointed that Anthropic kind of dropped the ball here, let's just be real for a second. I don't think Anthropic is trying to do anything malicious, right? They're a company. They want to have customers. They're not going to go out of their way to burn that trust and those bridges with those customers. And so they're going to try to mitigate the damage and things. And so minimally, I think the worst thing that Anthropic is going to do here is just charge you more money. And ultimately, I think that that's a small price in the grand scheme of things. I know that they may not sound great, but if you consider the ramifications of some of these other things that could happen, paying a little bit more per month is a very tiny thing. Then, yeah, I absolutely love Dream Clinic. I'll check it out. Paying a little bit more a month is very minor compared to your identity getting stolen, your entire machine getting compromised, all of your personal identity and things getting hacked. You don't want that. You if you haven't had this happen before to you, I have. It's hellish. It's not great. It's you're going to be treated super poorly by all the people that these people are using your credit cards for, and you're going to be the bad guy. There's a bunch of bad things that could happen. So the biggest thing that you don't want to have happen is get hacked. Now, there is an important detail that emerged that I was sharing on one of the... Oh, come on, buddy. Is it this one? Yeah. On one of the shorts earlier, that is very important for us to understand, and I feel kind of bad. I mean, like, from my perspective, just being real for a second, I've been doing this for a long time, so I kind of understand what not to do. And so for me and the other experts, it's not that hard to not get hacked. I mean, it could still happen, but there's just certain things that we won't do that are really obvious to us, but may not be obvious to everybody else. And so I kind of took for granted that the majority of the world kind of knew not to do certain things, and they wouldn't do it. But then I forgot that there's a lot of people that use Claude Code that haven't been doing this for 20, 30 years and understand security, vulnerabilities, surface area attacks, Trojan horses, rootkits, root privileges, all the stuff that all of us know forwards and backwards. And when I think I dropped one of these clips this weekend, or sorry, just a few days ago, and I was mentioning how there's going to be the Claude Code clones, and we should be careful because that's, I think, one of the easiest ways to hack people, which I think is still probably one of the easiest ways to hack people, is for them to create a Claude Code clone on the web that looks identical to Claude Code. And what makes it worse is you guys have probably already done those Google searches where you say, give me Claude Code, right? What comes up first? Does Claude Code come up first? No. What comes up first are sponsorships. And then some of these guys get really creative and show a logo that is Claude Code. And so if you're not deeply paying attention to the actual URL, you're like, oh, this is Claude Code, and you click on it. That easy. It could be that easy for you to get owned. Literally. You do a Google search for Claude Code, you're like, oh, it's not on my cache. You've got the search results. These guys get through Google Ads somehow by putting forward a shell company that looks legitimate. Google Ads doesn't deeply scrutinize it. They say, okay, cool. They have a front page that looks like Claude Code. The URL looks like Claude Code. You log in, you click the share Google account details, you're owned. You're owned. That fast. This is why I was saying, do not use Claude Code until you understand the ramifications of this. It's very easy if you aren't a security expert to. That was not always a risk. Uh, yeah, that's actually the point that I'm making about this and why the source code leak. So sorry, there's a comment on IG on how this was not always a risk. That's right. It wasn't always a risk until now, because the source code has been leaked and it's super easy for anyone to create a look and feel of the Claude Code web client. That's what got super easy, is it can look almost identical now to what you're using before. And again, if you're not a super expert and you're not like, wait a second, that's not Anthropic, that's Anthropia, right? Or that's strange, it's not .com, it's .org, or something like that, right? Just think like a hacker, like your life depends on this, and then think about all the creative ways that you could trick people into thinking that you look like you are a legitimate, actual Anthropic entity. It's not that hard to do. It's already being done right now by companies that are actually legitimate, that are just trying to steal traffic when you do searches on things like Claude Code. The reason why this is such a big deal is that Claude Code is used by, I don't know, what is it, millions of people now? It's a lot of people. And unfortunately, the majority of those people are vibe coders. And I'm not trying to bash on vibe coders here. I'm just trying to... Oh, sweet. Did they? All right. So my security folks are jumping in. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to circle back to this. Yeah, I'll circle back to that B. So this is already happening right now with legitimate companies that are trying to emulate their competition, but they're good actors. I mean, good-ish actors. All they're trying to do is steal your business. They just want you to give them your money. They don't want to like steal your life. But really bad people now are going to go much further and not try to just steal your money or get your money. I guess it's not stealing if you give it to them, but take a lot more. And the ability for them to potentially mimic this in a way that is believable has increased by like 100x now that the source code has been leaked. Now the good news is that Anthropic does appear to be doing everything that it can to what is the CDMA? CDMA? Is that it? I forget the acronym. But basically trying to shut down all of the clones that are popping up. And it's not the clones that I'm really worried about, but the clones are likely the path that are going to get you to have bad actors that are going to do more than just clone Claude Code. They're going to change the infrastructure so it does really bad things. And now one of those, one of my security experts is saying that maybe this article maybe has been pulled, but let's look at this real quick to see what I'm talking about as an example of how you could start to piggyback off of this. And it's not even, I'm not even referring to the actual clone of Claude Code, which is going to look so real. It's going to look super real. And if you're not super prepared and expecting that that's going to happen, you're probably going to get owned. You're probably going to get phished. You need to sort of lock this into your head. Again, for you security experts that are like, yeah, bro, I know all this. Sweet. That's awesome. I love that you guys know this. I'm talking about the people that are new to programming, that are trying to create apps that don't have 20 years of uh, reversing rootkits and things. Those folks, you need to go in to this. Yeah, CDMA. Yeah, thanks, David. You need to go into this expecting that anytime you do a search on the internet for Claude Code in the near future, a lot of that is going to be a fish to get you to go down a bad path. Even with all the things that Google's probably doing and Anthropic's doing and all these folks are doing, working together to try to minimize this. And so I still think that that's like the scariest path forward because it's going to look so real. But one of the other ways that people are potentially doing this, and again, I'm hearing from my security people that maybe this is not 100% legit, but the general idea here is legitimate. Okay, so even if we take this with a grain of salt and say, no, this didn't actually happen, and I don't know. I've heard it reported by a couple different people saying, no, it did happen, but none of those people are my security experts, and my super security guy is saying that he's not totally sure that this is a real thing. So take this with a grain of salt. One of the things that supposedly people were doing is essentially hijacking this Axios path, which is, again, to be clear, this is not something you as a user, as a vibe coder, you're not even interfacing with this. You're not doing anything really with Axios, okay? You're just using Claude Code and potentially getting sent things through this NPM service that could be injecting you and infecting your system. Could. But this is the type of thing that could start to be happening with this because the source code is out there. Think about it like this. A very simple way to kind of like wrap your head around the potential danger here is think about your favorite heist movie, okay? What's my favorite heist movie? I don't know, like Ocean's 11, Ocean 12, whatever, Ocean 13, Brad Pitt and crew. They assemble the crew, right? Everybody's got a different job. What's one of the first things that they do? They get the blueprint for the place that they're going to hack. That's one of the first things they do. The Claude Code source is that blueprint. That's the blueprint. So now what hackers are going to do is they're going to scrutinize the blueprint and they're going to look at every possible square foot of this and ask, is this a potential vulnerability? Is that a vulnerability? And more likely than not, there are going to be vulnerabilities. The idea that Claude Code, even if this were written by like security experts, which clearly it's not because I looked at some of the source and it's not super great. No disrespect, Anthropic. Love you guys. Use Claude Code. I think it's amazing, but wow, this is some like CS 101 undergrad stuff. So if I can quickly deduce that the code is not super buttoned up, what do you think that means about the potential vulnerabilities in that code? Do you think that it's going to be fully buttoned up? If I can look at a single section of code, just like arbitrary 50 lines of code and be like, well, that could be improved, that could be improved, that can be improved, and there's 500,000 lines, do you really think that this is going to be like Fort Knox, where every single path in or path out is going to be fully secured and there's no holes? There are probably so many holes in Claude Code that we're literally just scratching the surface. We're just scratching the surface. And this doesn't even get into the idea of going down the path of cloning it and making lookalikes. That's a completely separate thing. I'm talking about doing stuff like this, like you're trying to essentially look for things like SQL injections, or you're trying to override the NPM servers, or you're trying to hijack packages that are not part of Claude Code, but they're things that Claude Code uses that have vulnerabilities that then allow you to do Trojan horses, or these, like this remote access Trojan. This it's really bad, guys. Like what a remote access Trojan is you essentially pull in the Trojan horse, right? We all know what a Trojan horse is. It's like the thing that's on the outside that looks like, oh, this is a gift. Let's bring this into the house. And you bring it into the house, and then surprise, like the Trojan army jumps out and they take everybody. All right, so that's the typical Trojan horse. Remote access Trojan horse is even worse than that. What it is it's the Trojan horse that goes inside your computer, and then it opens up a channel. It opens up a socket into your machine, and then allows communication externally to bad actors to do all kinds of stuff. So think about it like this. If they have a rat in your system, the rat can be extremely simple. It doesn't even have to be that complicated. It can just simply be install this, find a port that we can hijack and piggyback off of like existing sockets that are going to go to a specific destination. So you kind of hide under the presence of like, oh, you've already authorized Claude Code to have internet access. Cool. So great. Claude Code is allowed to open up new sockets. These guys are now part of Claude Code. They open up a new socket. You don't have to give them permission because you already did that because it was safe. And now instead of going to Anthropic headquarters, they're going to some Russian server that is rabbit holed 15 different ways. You don't even know who the actual real hacker is. And that's where the sophistication of the attack actually happens, is now they have essentially rooted your machine, and they can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want at this point, right? The actual logic and the threat doesn't need to exist in your computer. It's on the outside. All they need is, going back to Ocean's 11, all they need is a path in. And that's essentially what a remote access Trojan horse is, right? This is one example of hundreds that can happen. Now, normally, this wouldn't be that big of a deal because the Claude Code source was locked down and people don't have the blueprint. People don't know where all the vulnerabilities is. And some of you that are experts might be saying, well, bro, you know, like you can right click on the source and stuff. And so we could kind of figure out a lot of this, you know, on our own. Yeah, for sure. You can do that. And to some degree, that's how a lot of these hacks happen, right? That's how people find the traditional SQL injections or buffer overruns or all of the things, right? You could do this already just by right-clicking on the source and scanning it. The leak has basically made this 1,000x easier. That's what the leak has done. Is it's made it so you don't have to do this tremendous amount of work to actually get a good understanding of the system. And once the system is assembled, right? Like think about it like this. Before the leak, you had the blueprint, but the blueprint of Claude Code was cut up in 10,000 different pieces, and it was thrown across the internet or across Anthropic's site. You could potentially figure all this stuff out, but that's a big jigsaw puzzle for you to try to piece together, and you might get some of the jigsaw puzzle wrong. You might. But with the leaked code, no, they've essentially given you the answer key, They've given you the answer key, so now you can fully assemble it, and it's assembled perfectly. You know exactly how it works. And once you know exactly how it works, then you can start trying to figure out where all the problems are. Now, I'm not trying to make people panic here, because ultimately, this is likely going to get solved, and they're going to up-level the code. And some people have actually made this, yes, there's supply chain attack is what we're talking about here. It's a very real concern, and that's what this NPM thing is. It's essentially a supply chain attack. It's not something that's directly in the code. It's part of the supply chain that actually make Claude Code work. Thank you, Mick. So I don't want people to like, I'm not trying to tell people to not use Claude Code. What I'm trying to tell people to do is, first of all, if you are not an expert software developer, you really need to understand first, before you use Claude Code again, before you even search on it on the web. I'm serious. I don't want you guys to get owned. It's going to be super easy if you aren't an expert. And again, I know there's lots of experts on GTT, and all of you guys saying, Goju, this is like, what's the big deal, bro? This is like, everybody knows not to do this. No, they don't. No, they don't, because there's a lot of people that are using Claude Code and are vibe coding today that don't have the background that we have, right? It's a different game now. That's the part that I think a lot of you experts are not understanding. It's not like when there was the OpenSSL heartbeat problem, and all of us hardcore coders were like, oh, that sucks, man. But, you know, we went in and we patched the code, and we were like, okay, we're good, right? We have the majority of people now using Claude Code that are not experts, and they don't understand all this. And it's not because they're dumb. They're not dumb. They just don't have the 10 years of background or 20 years of background on this stuff that we have. They're new to software development, and they're being thrown in to the deep end with all of this huge power. We've essentially given them like nuclear power, and with that power comes like an incredible amount of responsibility. So, for any of you new people, please push the pause button on Claude Code. Seriously, stop using Claude Code just for the moment. You don't have to believe me. Literally, don't trust me. Go and research this on your own. Read about it. Look at what VentureBeat's saying. Look at what TechCrunch is saying. Look at what actual like real security channels are saying. Find veteran software developers that you trust. Talk to them about things like rootkits or Trojans or fishes and copycat clones and all the stuff that is happening like on a daily basis from other places in foreign countries that are trying to do cyber attacks on people. Like, I realize that we're international here, so I'm not trying to, this isn't like a US-centric thing. I know there's GTTers around the world, and I'm just trying to protect the people, especially people that are now hacking away and building really cool stuff, but don't quite understand the difference between like read access and admin privileges. It's a really big difference. And with admin rights, like really, really bad things can happen. And with read-only rights, it's like, you know, it's not that dangerous. So hopefully that's clear. And hopefully I've beaten that horse to where we all understand the high-level takeaway is minimally you understand this is not a joke. Anybody that is hand-waving this away and saying, oh, it doesn't matter, like, it's not a big deal. All these people are talking about it because they're trying to get likes or they're trying to get views or whatever. I don't care about that. Like, I don't even want to talk about this. I actually want to talk about AI and technology and the difference between collab coding and vibe coding. I literally, this is the last thing that I want to talk about. And I wasn't even going to talk about it until I posted this one thing about the copycat clones, and then somebody dropped a message inside of IG and is like, bro, they're already doing it, where they've hacked Axios on through NPM. And I was like, wait a second, have they really done that already? And then I looked up this article, and maybe they have. So it escalated itself really quickly. And I just don't want you guys to get hosed, because once you get compromised, for really experienced hackers, the first thing that they're going to do is they're not even going to let you know that you're compromised. The best hackers will sit in silence and only show themselves after all of this danger has gone down. They're going to sit idle. They're going to be like time bombs, right? Where they don't actually trigger themselves until there's a specific passage of time. And then when they do, they're not going to make a presence on their execution signature where it's even noticeable. Like, they're not going to start themselves and launch 1,000 processes and flood your internet. I mean, like, you do this kind of thing if you're ransomwaring somebody's machine. Like, maybe we'll go through some of these various things. One of the things that is not super great is if people ransomware your box. So let's maybe walk through a couple examples. So you get infected, and then this is an example of they're going to compromise you and try to take you right away. So they rat you, they remote access Trojan horse you, and then they inject a binary this is a payload that they essentially send to you through the open channel that they created that has a complete encryption system in it, and then they fully encrypt your entire hard drive. It becomes fully encrypted, and then they lock you out of your own machine. And the only way to get access to your machine is if you buy the encryption key. You can read up about this. It's one of the techniques that people use for ransomware. And if you don't pay the ransomware, then you remain permanently locked out. For some of the ones that are like, part of the reason why ransomware is like extremely bad is if you get ransomwared, you're fucked. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. You are already screwed. Even if you pay the ransom to get access to your stuff, they have all of your stuff now. They have it all. So you got it back, but now they have your credit cards, they have your identity, they have all the stuff, okay? You don't want to get ransomwared. It is one of the worst possible things that can happen, and you could do it with something like this. All right, so now that's an example of a hack that can happen through something like this with a rat, where they're going to act on it immediately, and you're going to know pretty quickly if you've been ransomwared. Sometimes if you are really, really lucky, I mean, if you're really good, if you're like an expert security person, what you can do is you can see the CPU signature spiking, and you can see the network traffic throttling, and you can cut it off. You can kill the internet. You can disconnect all the stuff, immediately, and you can stop it before it spreads. Like, the big kicker of the ransomware is not so much the encryption of your data. I mean, that royally sucks, but it's when they encrypt it and they compress it and then they send it to themselves. That's the real danger of ransomware. And yes, it does suck to lose your entire life and all of that, but with today's world, with cloud backups, you probably maybe have this stuff. And if you get a security expert, even if you get ransomware, but it gets blocked off before they send the payload out into like a third party, you can get a hacker that can figure out how to decrypt the encryption. I mean, it could cost you quite a bit of money, and it could be very time consuming, all of the stuff, but it can be generally done, and you can get your information back. But you have to be super vigilant. You have to be like an expert in this and be like, why is my CPU being pegged all of a sudden? Why did my network traffic increase by 100x? And some of these hackers are not dumb. They're not going to do it this way. They're going to be patient. Yeah, it depends. Right, so let's go worst case. So, Mick, worst case, we'll say that you can't decrypt it after it's been encrypted, and so you're totally screwed. That's terrible. Best case is you can. The real thing that you want is just not to have this happen. Just to sidestep this entirely so you don't get ransomwared. This is why I'm making such a big deal about this, and why I leveled up the stream today and I created a couple clips, because I saw some people hand waving this away like this is not this big deal, and I don't understand why people are like worried about this. People are doing this just for the likes. Okay, just wait till it happens to you and then find out. What's the saying, like, play stupid games, win stupid prizes? Just don't play a stupid game here. If you go the extra effort to just be in lockdown, to just heighten your level of security, be a little bit more vigilant, the hope is none of this will even happen. And so, great. You wasted a little bit of time. You burned a few extra hours, and you're fine. The other side of that is you don't take these measures. You are super laissez-faire. You're not paying attention, and you get infected. And again, once you get infected, in many cases, it's game over at that point. There's not much we can do. So you have to not let it happen to begin with. All right. Now, I've been ranting and raving for the last 50 minutes, and I have two major chats that are both moving forward. We've got the main chats over here, and we've got the IG chat. So let me try to scroll through some of the stuff and see if there's any particular things that we haven't talked about. I wonder if I can drop. Okay. Let me just scroll back. I'm checking out some of the IG stuff. By the way, love you IG folks. You guys are engaging like crazy. Oh, okay. As I'm looking at the comments, maybe I'll just move this over here so you guys can see what I'm looking at. And then can I bring up the other chat at the same time? There we go. All right. Oh, here, let's shrink this a little bit. No, we want this actually to be over so you don't see two of me. All right, so let's quickly go through some of the Instagram comments. What do I think of the quality of the code for Claude Code? Eddie, I gotta be honest, I wasn't super impressed, and I'm not trying to. I promise I'm not trying to pick on Anthropic here. I use Claude Code. I actually love Claude Code. It's freaking incredible. It's a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. But as far as the front end UI, I wish greater care was taken on that. I guess maybe I'll just leave it at that. All right. Dave, I'm not sure. What is Dave trying to say here? If we have Claude on desktop, chat, co-work code, but don't use code function, we should delete desktop program and not use the code tab. I'm not entirely sure. I mostly use the CLI, as I think a lot of us power users do. We basically just crank it out in like a terminal. And some of you, I think, yeah, you're using it in your IDE. I don't know the system architecture well enough to know how much the Claude Code TypeScript is interfacing with the various components. Now, just to be clear, historically, TypeScript and JavaScript are usually things that are front end and they're browser based. But as these things are getting more and more advanced, people are using them in actually downloaded apps. Like, for example, in Microsoft Visual VS Code, the entire VS Code app, which runs residently on your machine, best I understand, is written completely in JavaScript and TypeScript. So I think that it's important to maybe not assume that just because it's JavaScript, TypeScript, that it's only going to run in the browser. That's maybe not entirely true. I haven't stared at the architecture enough to actually know the limitations. So just, again, if you're not an expert software developer, pause Claude Code just for the moment, and let's deeply analyze this to understand the entire scope. If you are an expert, yeah, go crazy. Do whatever you want to do, right? You know this forwards and backwards, and I appreciate you even joining because you probably know more than I do, which is wonderful. But for everybody else, pause Claude Code temporarily. You can yell at me later and tell me that I was an idiot and I wasted 4 hours of your life. I'd much prefer that than for me to say, hey guys, there's no problem here, just go crazy, and you guys all get compromised and you come back and say, Goju, my whole machine got compromised because you said there was no threat. I'm not going to be that guy. Nope. Other people can be those guys, not me. All right, we talked about this. It's true. This was not always a risk. This is more of a risk now that the source has been leaked. It's just much easier because now they have the blueprint. Yeah, David, this is a really interesting question. I gotta tell you, even with me being a founder of a Silicon Valley VC-backed company, the way that the actual valuations and market works and the disconnect between Wall Street and Tech Street is so large sometimes, I don't know. I literally don't know. I do know that there's a big sweep under the rug for this, and that certain media outlets, I'm not going to mention their names, because I literally have friends at these places, and I'm privately yelling at them and saying, why are you guys not covering this? but I already kind of know why they're not covering it, and I don't love it. It's almost like they don't care if people get hacked or not, and it just pisses me off. So what I anticipate is going to happen is, and we already saw a little bit of this, is as more of the general public becomes aware of how big of a deal this is, there's going to be more people that are getting hacked, there's going to be more compromises, and there's going to be a lot more blowback to Anthropic. It just hasn't happened yet because there haven't been enough hacks. Like right now, there's a lot of focus on, oh, Anthropic already issued 8,000 takedowns for the clones, right? So that's the type of thing. But you're starting to get these articles where it's like, wait a second, somebody used this Axios hack as a supply chain funnel into Claude Code to hack people. And part of the reason why you do the supply chain attack, folks, is a normal supply chain attack, like the Axios stuff, I think has been around for a little while. The reason why it's so much bigger of a deal with Claude Code is the scale. Claude Code is used supposedly by millions of people. There aren't that many apps that are being used at that wide scale. On top of that, a lot of people use Claude Code in a non-sandboxed, non-regulated way. They give Claude Code root because it can move faster, and so they give it admin rights, and then it does move faster. So now if you're a hacker and you have this source code leak and you find a way to funnel in, I don't know, which app would you attack? The one that has already millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of users, and they've already given that app root access? Or would you hack Netflix, right? I mean, I know which one I would hack, so that's part of the reason. Okay, yeah. Yeah, and I love the questions you're asking, David. I literally have no idea. It's I think that is likely going to change. Okay, Doug, what should I do with Claude on my desktop? The first thing that you should do is, assuming you haven't done anything with Claude since the leak, as long as it doesn't do any automatic updates, don't do anything yet. This is my strong recommendation. If you want to try to totally protect yourself, you could uninstall it. The reason why I'm saying potentially not even uninstall it is some of these hackers are really smart, and they embed the Trojans in the uninstall scripts. Yeah, I told you we were going to get into it. We're getting into it, right? And so you could trigger the hack not through use, but through the uninstall. This is a well-known technique for people to infect machines, use something that's exploitable, and then create a lot of fear and panic, and then get people to uninstall the app, which then actually triggers the Trojan horse. And the reason why the uninstall script can trigger it is when you uninstall, you generally need admin rights to run an uninstall script. It's almost always necessary because you're going to have to delete files, you're going to have to change the registry, you're going to have to remove shared libraries, whereas running the application in a normal sandboxed way oftentimes doesn't have the same need for admin rights as uninstall. So this is why I'm not telling you to uninstall Claude Code. Is if you've been infected, and you've been infected in a really malicious way, what I anticipate will happen is certain good actors are going to write totally clean and protected uninstall scripts for infected Claude codes that are lying dormant that would only be triggered on an uninstall. Those don't exist yet, at least not to my knowledge. I fully expect that the uninstall script viruses do exist. That's my belief based on the signals that I'm seeing. So in your particular case, Doug, if I were you, I don't have the full context of your environment. I would literally do nothing. I would just pause all Claude Code activity, all of it, and just give yourself a minute. If you need to move forward with work, you could potentially get on an entirely new machine. You could, like, I'm not sure, but let me explain what I would do if I had access to your machine, not knowing the full context. Well, the first thing I would do is that machine that could potentially be compromised, I would disconnect it from all forms of the internet. I would get it completely cut off. Wi-Fi's off, Bluetooth's off, direct landline is off. Then I would scour the internet for virus software that's looking particularly for Claude Code infections. And that may not exist yet, so you may have to just bide your time. Once that exists, then I would, with a USB drive, I would download it from another machine, right? This, because this other machine is fully sandboxed. It has no internet connection. And again, this may sound severe, but once you've had this happen to you, you probably won't think it's nearly as severe as it sounds. So then I would download this virus detection stuff on another machine onto a USB thumb drive. I would connect that to the quarantine device. I would install it, and then I would run the quarantine. After I have some degree of certainty, I would probably even get a second set of eyes on a security expert looking at this to make sure that they think that it's safe too. At that point, what I probably do is uninstall Claude Code. Even if it's safe, I don't care. Then, hold on, give me a second here. Yeah, that's probably what I would do. Then what I would do is I would have another USB device that I would back up all the data, assuming that all the data on the machine is not fully backed up. I'm talking about personal things and things that are critical. So you're not backing up the entire machine, all your apps and stuff, you're just backing up your data. So photos, music files, financial records, all the stuff that like is hard to replicate that you maybe only have a single instance of, I would make sure that's all on your thumb drive. Then after that's already completely done, at that point, I might fully wipe that machine. And not just a partial wipe. What I might do is I might do like a complete bitwise wipe. This is the kind of software where it's going to go through the individual bytes of the non-volatile storage and clear it out. Like normally the way that when you format a drive, it essentially just deletes the general B tree structure for the file system. And so everything is kind of deleted in a fast way, but things aren't really deleted. They're still there, that you can still reassemble all these things. You probably don't want that in this case because you don't want any chance that there's a new version of this virus that can then enact itself on the old system and reassemble these things. Again, this may sound way over the top, like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of work, but it's very easy to get like a bitwise deleter, formatter. You can find these things on the internet, and maybe it's $20 or something, and then what you get is you get your machine back. You don't have to destroy that box, because with anything short of doing like a full bitwise wipe of the box, I wouldn't trust it. And I'm talking about this for people that this is a new experience, and you may not have all the background of, I know I'm safe, I'm fine, I didn't do anything bad, I don't need to quarantine my machine, I don't need to do a bitwise wipe of all the stuff, bro, I'm fine. For all of you, yeah, if you think you're fine, then you're fine. But if you have any questions about this and you're a little uncertain, it's much, much better to be safe than sorry. Trust me. I've had these things happen to me before in the past when I didn't know better, and it royally sucks. It is like you cannot understand the panic and fear that it's going to add to your life until you've been ransomwared or you've been fully Trojaned, right? Especially if you have sensitive things on your machines that you do not want getting out into the world. It can be a very painful process. All right. Does Claude Anthropic lose trust here? David, I've lost a lot of trust in Anthropic with this. This didn't need to happen. This is a sophomoric mistake that Anthropic was not paying enough attention to what they're doing, and they made it's a freshman level mistake on not setting the right flag for the NPM registry, and now we're all paying the price for it. It shouldn't have happened, and at least for me, and I think a lot of the expert software developers, we probably have lost trust. And I think it just depends on how much you care, because I think if you're like me and you care a lot about making sure that other people don't get hosed, I'm not thrilled. If you are an investor in Anthropic and all you care about is their valuation, yeah, maybe you're like, didn't affect me, I'm good. But I think that the general public is going to become aware of this and understand the ramifications in the coming weeks. And I think that there's going to be like a lot of trust that's lost. That's my speculation. Yeah, Colin, I agree with you. It should not be this easy to do this through NPM. Absolutely. But at the same time, it also should not be the case. I mean, there's a huge issue with supply chain vulnerabilities today. The way that we do general supply chain software is broken in 1,000 different ways. And I'm not sure exactly how to fix this. I mean, there's just like, it's just very complicated. And there are steps that are being made to try to make this better, but there's a lot more work that we need to do. I do think that what I saw is Anthropic's no longer using NPM for package management or something, but I don't know that for sure. I was just trying to piece this together. Kat, would you advise people to keep their intellectual property away from AI tools? 100%. 100%. Yes, 100%. There's not even a question on this question. If you have intellectual property, don't give it to the AI tools in any way, shape, or form. 1,000%. Keep it a million miles away. This is what we do. This is a hard rule that I have. In fact, at Merly, just so let me give you a concrete example on why this is so easy for me to answer. And I'm really glad you raised this, Cat. At Merly, we use coding agents. They're great. We have a very specific rule about the way that the coding agents are used. Anything that's in the front end, you can use things like Claude or Copilot, Cursor, kind of just whatever you want. But that is just the front end stuff. And yeah, I think that those are the general parameters. I have to check to see exactly what I said, what our mandates were. But anything that is related to the back end, the system logic, or our novel AIs cannot interface with those at all. At all. They can't even look at that code. It's a complete quarantined area. What we're talking about here are the databases, the algorithms, the models, because we build like our own models and things. All of that is off limits. And that is our IP. That's some of our IP. Going back to your question, Kat, yes. Keep the AI tools entirely away from the intellectual property for reasons like this, that even if we trust the AI systems themselves, if they get hacked, then you can have an attacker come in and now they have access to these things and they have your IP, and that could bring on a whole world of hurt for you, right? This is not a situation that you want to be in. All right, let's take a quick 2-minute break, and then I'll continue to go through the comments. All right, be right back. All right, folks. Give me a second to get some of my keto stuff. And then we'll continue. And by the way, after I finish this, I'm going to try to quickly turn this into a VOD and post this on the YouTube channel. So for any of you that are just getting in at the end or just the beginning, you'll be able to watch the whole thing, fast forward all the stuff that, you know, we like to do. All right. Let's continue with the questions. We stopped with Kat on keeping the AIs away from our IP. Yes. Thanks, David. Appreciate it, and appreciate you joining. Yeah, as far as how this hurts Anthropic or OpenAI, let me actually just repeat what David's talking about. The value of Anthropic, Claude, the best bits, be morphed into other models. Have they given up their advantage? Right. No, I don't think so. This is a great question, and let me kind of explain here. The only thing that Anthropic has kind of given up is the framework in which they are organizing the Claude Code experience. You can think of it like, some people call it the harness. I kind of call it the front end. And none of those are exactly right, because as we're learning more about the code, what we're realizing is there is system logic in what was leaked that tells the overall system how to behave. And there's people that have done a deeper dissection on this. Maybe in a subsequent stream, we'll talk a little bit about this. But if you check X, there's a bunch of stuff that's being posted where people are doing like full architecture analyses. They're deeply reasoning about the way the prompts are controlled and even how the AI will interface with the users based on their user level. Like if you're an Anthropic employee, you kind of get the advanced, fully unlocked Claude Code. And if you're just a normal person like you and me, you get kind of the dumbed down version, which is unfortunate, but this is what I mean about system level logic being present in the harness. And those people that are just kind of being very dismissive about how, oh, it's only the UI, UX, it unfortunately is more than that. And that means that some of the fundamentals of the way Claude Code work are exposed in the leak. However, one of the most important things that is not exposed are their models and the way that they do iterative refinement, the data they provide to those models and all of that. And because of that, this doesn't really, in some sense, it doesn't really hurt Anthropic in their valuation in terms of their technological advantage. I mean, I did read that the guy who created either OpenClaw or Open Code has joined OpenAI and is now helping them create some, essentially a clone of that for OpenAI. So obviously this matters, but the fundamental disruptive technology that Anthropic has, which is their models, the way that they iteratively refine their models, and the data that they use to train their models, none of that has been leaked. And also keep in mind that Claude Code is only one of several domains that Anthropic works in. So this likely isn't going to hurt their valuation much. I think that it will hurt their brand trust. I think that it will damage their brand. And I do think that they are being a bit naive to not make more public statements about how this is a really big boo-boo and mistake that they didn't need to make, and they are deeply sorry and all the stuff. I'm going to cough this up to a lot of them being new at this whole creating companies and doing these things. And I don't mean that in any way to be disrespectful to Dario and the crew. There's a lot of startups that are taking off right now that have a whole bunch of money, but have very little experience in actually running companies. I think they don't quite understand the magnitude and the damage that is being caused by this, but I think they're about to find out. I think in the next several weeks or months, that just like Sam Altman found out, right? Do you remember several years ago when Sam Altman was kind of like he thought that he was God or something, and he'd walk around and just say all these things, and boy, did the sentiment change. I kind of think that Anthropic's doing a little bit of the same thing right now, that they're not paying nearly enough attention to how much this is hurting one of their core communities, which are the Claude Code developers, the Claude Code vibers, or what I'm referring to now as the collabers, collab coding, which I want to get into in a later part of the stream. But I think that that is going to happen over the next several months, and I do think that that's going to cause some brand damage and make people hesitant. The part that is maybe the craziest is Anthropic was positioning itself to be the enterprise solution for software development. And I don't understand how you could possibly think that creating a leak where your entire source code for one of your biggest products that now has leveled the playing field for other people to essentially clone it is not going to hurt you, or it's going to build trust in other enterprise customers. It's like, hey, we're safe, we're secure. Like, really? Do you really think they're going to see it that way? You think that they're not going to say, wait a second, you guys just leaked your whole effing source code. How could we possibly trust you as an enterprise solution for AI? Like, we can't have that happen to us. Is that going to happen to us if we work with you? Right? Like what Kat's saying. This would be one of the first questions that I would ask. So I don't know what the PR department at Anthropic is doing, but I don't think they're doing the right thing here. I would be doing something very different, like massive public apologies. And I think that what they're trying to do is downplay this and sweep it under the rug and do these like pricing changes to get everybody to shift back to Claude Code, so then it won't result in something just horrific. But the cat's already out of the bag. I think that it's already going in that direction. So anyway, we'll see. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Okay. David, I expect that there will be dozens of copycat companies that are going to use the Claude Code as a starting point. And some of them potentially in a non-illegal way, using the Rust code that we were looking at earlier, like this thing. Because I think that instruct, this Claude Code, which supposedly is leveraged from Claude Code, but then rewritten in Rust, so it can't be DCMA'd. or MDMA. I forget what the term is. Anyway, I think you guys know what I'm saying. And use this as the basis. That gets them essentially the UI and the UX, that infrastructure. It doesn't get them the models though. But I do expect that that's going to happen. So yeah, I agree with you. All right, let's keep moving along. Maybe let's forward down on our chat over here. Okay, cool. Yeah. Hey guys. Sweet. I've got a lot to catch up on. It's taking a little while. Yeah. Dale's saying I'm being a little naive. Dale, I'm like always being a little naive. I'm always not getting stuff right. So you're more just saying the obvious, brother. No disrespect. I'm agreeing with you. All right. Let's continue on our comments here. Change enough code, you'll have legitimately be allowed for use. Yes, that is exactly what that clone did, David. The clone was okay. The story, as I understand it, for this Rust clone was this: the guy downloaded the source of Claude Code, and then I guess maybe his girlfriend or something got really nervous for him, thinking that it's illegal and he's going to get into trouble and all of that. So he then used some transpilation system to convert the code into Rust. And I think he even says in the page his in the Claude Code, I think he talks about how he did this. Yeah. I just have to laugh a little. Where did I? Okay, yeah. So here's. I think this is where he talks about it. You should check this out. It's Claude Code. I got a good giggle as I was reading this. I think we all have to thank his girlfriend. His girlfriend basically was like, bro, what are you doing? We're going to get in trouble. And he was like, oh, shoot, you're right. Let's not get in trouble. And so then he basically rewrote this whole thing or he got some help to rewrite it in Rust. And then what we are left with now is this masterpiece. I haven't looked at this code at all. Again, there's it's like so much going on. It's impossible to keep up. But I guess a lot of people are looking at this and considering this as a viable alternative to Claude Code. And it is legitimately different because it's written in a completely different language, circumventing the issues that you're talking about. You can't, I don't think that Anthropic is legally allowed to give this a takedown notice because it's not their code. It's something totally different. It's arguably based on their code, and it could very well be that there's a big lawsuit that's going to be enacted and started by this. I think that's entirely possible, but I don't know necessarily that it can be the takedown notice. Okay. Yeah, so Mitch, if you follow basic security practices, cloning issue won't be a problem. there's tons of duplicate software. Yeah. Uh, so I kind of agree with you, and I'm not. Okay, let me be clear about something, because I think there might be some confusion on what I'm saying and what you're saying. There is a ton of code out there that is cloning other software or trying to be a clone. It's trying to be a copycat. And generally speaking, when those other look, let me it's easier if I show you an example. I'm going to just try to show you an example here so we can see what I'm talking about. Give me a second. All right. I just typed into Google Claude Code. Right? I'm going to bring this over here so you can see the results. See, I did a Google search on Claude Code. Now, I want you guys to look at what came up. Is this Claude Code? No. This is ChatGPT. This is Codex. This is OpenAI. Now the question is, why, when I type Claude Code, does OpenAI come up? The reason for that is OpenAI is paying ad dollars to Google to be the #1 sponsored result when anyone searches on their competitor. And so what they're trying to do here is essentially they're trying to siphon the traffic from Anthropic to OpenAI. And it's smart, right? Claude Code Anthropic is kind of winning right now. And OpenAI is trying to find ways to stop that. So one of the best ways is intercept any of the searches that would be happening for Anthropic. And in this particular case, if you click on this, it's going to bring you to OpenAI. And while you may not love OpenAI, I certainly have my own thoughts about OpenAI. OpenAI is probably not going to try to steal your life from you. That's not what they're all about. They may try to take your money, and they may try to harvest some of your data, but generally speaking, they are accountable. They're accountable because they are a known entity that has well-established investors, and they have a lot of responsibility to do the right thing. Now, with the Claude Code leak, what I anticipate will happen is this. There are going to be shell companies that are stood up that look like they are legitimate companies. They're going to piggyback off of this the same way that OpenAI is, except they're not going to be a trustworthy company. And they're going to pretend to be Claude Code, and they won't be. And you're going to click on this, and rather than bringing you to ChatGPT or OpenAI, they're going to bring you to some nefarious website that then is going to try to steal your personal information and make your life horrible. Make your life royally suck in a way that you're going to spend the next several months, maybe years, trying to get your identity back, or be ransomwared, or have all the personal information that was confidential and secret to you now leaked or controlled by all of these other people. I don't think you want that. That's the real fear here. It's not so much that there's a clone war on Claude Code. I don't really care about that. I mean, like, in some sense, that's great. Like, let's level the playing field. I'm worried about bad actors that are going to leverage this to create lookalikes that are then going to steal people's information and make their life royally suck. And that's why this is different, because they have the source code for this so they can make it look and feel like Claude Code to the T. They don't have to even guess. They have the source. It will look and feel exactly like Claude Code. That's why this is uniquely dangerous. That's why this cloning war thing is going to be potentially really bad for people that are not aware. That's why I'm going to such efforts to repeat myself and probably annoy the heck out of a lot of you by saying the same thing over and over, because minimally, even if you're annoyed with me sounding like a broken record, you hopefully will walk away with like, oh, right. So be careful of Claude Code clones. I can't remember why, but he seemed really adamant about that. And then if that saves you from accidentally clicking on the wrong link or accidentally installing something that then basically keeps your bank account from being totally drained, cool, we've won. And you can thank me later. You know, that's fine. Just sub to GTD. There you go. Thanks enough. You're welcome. Right? I'm here to help. Yeah. People install a rat from Claude Dupe, probably out. I don't think so. I mean, I think that it's far worse than that, Mitch. That it's the potential to, one, understand exactly what the architecture of Claude Code is now, so you know where the holes are. And secondly, it's to create a copycat that looks exactly identical. Keep in mind, Claude Code was not developed in the open source space where it's been deeply hardened like a lot of the other open source projects. So now that it's out there, what I really think is there's probably hundreds, if not thousands, of vulnerabilities in Claude Code that hackers are sitting on. I haven't looked at the source, but I fully suspect that if I spent maybe 4 hours deeply scrutinizing it, I could even find some novel ones. Maybe I'll do that later this evening. Oh, right, the source has already been taken down everywhere, so I wouldn't be able to do that. So I guess I can't do that. But for hackers, I guess that they can. All right. Thanks, David. Talk to you later. The exposure of Claude Code source doesn't significantly increase the risk of that type of attack. It was possible, but so that's not wrong. I don't disagree with that. It was possible before. Now it's just it's easier to replicate, and it looks more believable. Backend doesn't need to be fully copied. Functional design, malware. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's like having keys to locked door. Yes, cat, exactly. Cloning issue in particular, no reason to go through locked door. Okay, supply chain. Yeah, this is one of the major things. This supply chain attack. Occur with OpenClaw. Cool. Excellent. I think we're making our. Yeah. And I'm not even concerned really about the companies that try to copycat them and make a quick buck. I'm more concerned about the people that are going to try to make all of our lives hell by hacking us. Wondering how this will impact systems with a clean LLM they have connected to the structure and basically rot the LLM. That's surprisingly very interesting, Kat. I'm going to have to think about this. I don't know about that. but there's something. Okay, what I'm doing right now is I'm like designing that system in my head, and I'm trying to figure out there's actually something I think pretty interesting here with what Kat's saying. I need time to think about this. So I'm going to take this as like my own personal action item and think about this, but we'll circle back. I may do a follow-up VOD or something on this. I was actually just talking with someone on our Discord. By the way, if you're not part of our Discord, the link's out there somewhere. Colin can probably help you guys out with it. But I was just talking with someone on our Discord about the teacher-student model and trying to help them design one of their systems so it has a better verifier and validator in it. And Kat's comment about a clean LLM makes me really curious about a couple things. Anyway, it will take me a little while to think about this and figure out how you might do something interesting, but I think there is something interesting that could happen here. Cool. Mitch, yeah, I didn't know about Vodex. I'll check that out. This is great. You guys are teaching me all kinds of things. This is actually one of the main reasons why I do GTT is, and I teach. I think I've mentioned many times, my biggest hack on teaching is my students are smarter than I am. And all I do is just set them up with like the core knowledge, and then I sit back and they just teach me all kinds of stuff. And you guys are basically teaching me all kinds of stuff. The act of taking clean data and making it dirty would be horrific. Yes, that would be really bad. Most are going to steal your browser, cookies, login. Yes. So Mitch, exactly. That is the biggest concern. That's it right there. Mitch has nailed it. This is the cancel. Maybe, oh, pin. We're going to pin that comment. That is such a good comment. That is the biggest fear that I have, is they are going to get into your system through your browser cookies or something, and then they're going to get access to your financial records or ransomware you or something, and it's really not going to be good. That's what we're basically trying to avoid here and making you all aware of. All right. Clean data sets are worth lots of money. Yep. Cool. New vibe coders know nothing about the encrypting. I suspect that's probably very true. Make an LLM wrapper security bot that protects vibe coders. And I see that you're laughing about this, Mitch, but I think you... I think that's not a terrible idea, Mitch. That may actually be a really good thing. As much of that might have been a joke, that could be a really good thing, is to build an LLM security bot that is there to protect the vibe coders, so people can continue about their day without potentially compromising their system. All right. Cool. Now there are a gajillion more comments here that I'm just gonna, or not a gajillion, but more. But I'm gonna now switch over to our other YouTube, Twitch, and Kick. So thanks, IG. You guys rock. This is fantastic. And I love what Mitch has said here. This is what we're really trying to avoid, that they are going to get our browser cookies and log into our financial accounts we got to make sure that doesn't happen. Because the moment that they have that, you're cooked. Because it's drained, and you're probably not going to get it back. All right. Man, can we make this a little bit bigger? Scale 100%. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Let's scroll back up. Cool. Yeah, Colin, I'm being very careful. Sweet Mitch, yeah, thanks, brother, for joining, and we'll drop the full VOD on GTT proper later on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, so good call, Colin. Not running npm install. I'm very nervous myself. There's a Russian in Germany who did this and made 35 million ransomware on encryption. Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff that can happen. Okay, yeah, what's good? This is one of the first signs that you might be in trouble, is if your computer is lagging. If you see your computer lagging and it's a drastic lagging change from how it was just yesterday, and you didn't install anything new, that I would be very concerned about this. If it's just the internet being slow, like, yeah, ISP providers can have good days and bad days. And yes, computers can be connected to phones. I don't love the sound of this. Again, not try to over dramatize this, but when I've seen this in the past, something has triggered on my end and it's made it not super great. Sometimes it's a virus. It has happened to me, even with me having all the background. I've accidentally clicked on the wrong links. Like it can happen to anybody, right? And one of the fastest ways to tell if you have been compromised is usually your computer being more sluggish. This is like a sort of a well-known security thing. And yeah, what's good, I would do some deep dive. I might get a security expert involved if you're concerned, especially if you have very important financial data or other private data that you don't want getting out there. You may want to get somebody to take a look. Dale, welcome to the party, brother. Great. Claude Code is definitely dangerous. I can't say too much. I've gone to, yeah. Yes, there are some concerns, and I absolutely agree with you. Also, could go about trying to see if I had compromised rig. Would love. Yeah, I would recommend you try to find a security expert, maybe that's local. For me personally, what's good is I try to, for sensitive things like this, what maybe your best bet is someone that either you've known for a very long time, so you deeply trust them, or someone that has a really good reputation. Their credentials are essentially flawless and they're local. Because some of the stuff you want them to, they're going to need to come to like your house. They're going to need to come to your residence, because if you have a compromised system, one of the first things you want to do is disconnect it from the internet. You're not going to want them to remote log into your machine, because that's just potentially going to exacerbate the problem. So you may want to do a search on another device to find a security expert and take a look. And again, not trying to make you panic or anything, but now's a really good time to be paying attention. And it's possible that this has nothing to do with Claude Code. Maybe it has to do with something else. But hey, you know, if this is protecting you from something, that's fantastic. All right. There's something big in the background. Check their MD. Yeah, there's actually lots of things, Dale, that we've learned from this incident that some of us, I think, thought was going on, that I don't know if we had concrete data for sure that it was happening, but now we kind of do. And I think Dale in particular was doing a dive on some of these things, and I think he observed some rather questionable behavior, and I think he could be onto something important. Yeah. Okay. Being naive, yeah, 100%. I mean, that is not what they say I can tell you from experience. Okay, not sure I understand the context, but I'm definitely naive all the time. Turning machine off and using safe mode. This is going to be a really good start, is to put yourself into safe mode, because this generally will restrict access to the machine running stuff that it doesn't need to run. Yeah, and again, another big aspect of this is disabling all internet, and anything wireless, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. Some people think just killing the Wi-Fi and the internet sufficient. Bluetooth these days, they can piggyback Bluetooth and do clever things. I've seen some of the data. So you want complete Wi-Fi shutdown. Hey, Poe. Welcome, my man. Cool. Excellent. I think I'm slowly getting... Yeah, we're getting into it. Sorry, what is WSL again? It sounds familiar, but it's I'm not able to connect the dots. Is it Windows socket layer? Something sounds familiar. Okay. Hey, Dark. What's going on, brother? Does it make more sense that an AI company wants hackers? Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting question, Dale. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Windows subsystem for Linux. Great. Yeah, I knew I had heard of that. Thanks, Unkit. Appreciate it. And I don't know, Dale. That's an interesting question about... He's asking if it makes more sense that the AI companies are going to let the hackers in, or that they're using it as a cover, potentially get people's IP. I mean, there's definitely bad things that could happen, but I mean, for Anthropic to hurt its potential $100+ billion IPO, to steal IP from people that's not like guaranteed to be huge, might be a little bit of a reach, but I'm not saying it's not possible, but yeah, if that's the case, they would definitely need to make sure that never ever got found out. And yeah, I mean, that could be a thing. All right, cool. So what's good is getting some help. I love it. And by the way, for the IG folks, I'm just skimming through the chat. Oh, I guess maybe I could drop this over here so you guys could see some of this. Uh, oh, there we go. Oh, excuse me. And Dale's reminding me about who Anthropic has been partnering with and the big picture. Yeah, there's definitely lots of stuff going on. And I like I actually, just to be honest, I like Dale's deeply critical mind. I may not necessarily agree with all the conclusions that he comes to, but I do think that it can be very useful to think about possible scenarios, because while many of those may not be real, some of them may be. And this is an example of that, is the Claude Code leak, I think, is going to result, excuse me, is going to result in hackers taking advantage of this situation. And at first, for a lot of people, that may feel like that's a massive stretch. But then when you start to think about it and you start to see what's already happening, you realize, wait, this is not a stretch. So the question becomes, how far down this rabbit hole do we go? I don't know. It depends on who the people are. And so I appreciate you pushing the boundaries on all this, Dale. Dark, the irony of rewriting their link code in. Oh man, this, this is one of the reasons why. This is one of the reasons why I love having Dark on board. Is there's a few people that really just, I don't know what it is. They just really know how to make me laugh, and Dark is one of them. And there is a huge amount of irony, and oh god, okay, hold on, just a second. So what's what Dark is saying? You gotta kind of understand Dark's sense of humor, and also that he's insanely smart. Is what he's saying is essentially Anthropic has created these incredible AIs, which is true, and then they accidentally leaked the source code that they kind of maybe used their AIs to write. And now other people are using their own AIs to rewrite their own code in another thing, essentially to become the new tool for them. Uh, it is the highlight of the the stream thinking about this. Thank you for the humor, and humorous and also real at the same time. Uh, yeah. Oh, and what I mean by collab coders and vibe coders, we'll get into that. Uh, but what I'm probably going to do is end this stream after I get through a little bit more of these comments, and then I might do a later one this evening. But this is so important to get this broadcast to the larger audience. I'm gonna not do the normal 4, 6, 10-hour stream yet. What I might do is quickly turn this into a VOD, get that out on YouTube, and then hop back on. So, and if we do, then we'll get into the second part, which is the way I think about the future of these AI systems with collab coders rather than vibe coders. And they are very different in my mind. 100% night and day different. Okay.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Basically, this guy's girlfriend saved the whole planet. So thank you. Thank you, Open Claw girlfriend. We deeply appreciate you leveling us up and keeping us on track. It's the, it would take something like an external person to get our heads out of the code for a second and be like, huh, there's a bigger thing going on here. And I think that she's done that. Dark, I don't know about the Rust version. I'm gonna try to take a look at it, and maybe you guys can look at it too, and then report what you've learned. Uh, it is exactly the opposite of what Google search was meant to be. The levels of frustration that I have, I don't even know how to begin to describe them. I don't love this. Like, I don't, how did we get here? Where the new Google Ads is a redirect search on not what you searched for, but instead for paid ads that are not the thing that you searched for. And you like literally have to scroll past the thing that you searched for to get to the actual, look at this. So we start with, on this search, right? Let's just bring this over. We start with this search on Claude Code, and then we begin with Codex, which is OpenAI. That's not what we wanted. Then we keep going, and oh, now we're to Cursor, which again is not what we wanted. And look, we finally get to Claude. Like that's awesome. Uh, and we can, guys, we can hide the sponsored results, but only after we scroll past all of them. Is that an accident, Google? No, it's not an accident. It's on purpose, and it's super frustrating. I don't love that. Anyway, uh, yeah, Dale is talking about devaluation of their stock and Anthropic potentially being bought by Microsoft. It's interesting. I do know a couple things behind closed doors on with these guys, and it's curious to me to see how much Dale's actually assembling of the some of the story of what's happening. Quite amusing to me. Good job, Dale. Who wants to stream with us? Yo, this streamer said he wants to stream with you. He lives right now high off. Drusky, I'm not sure what you're saying, bro. Um, but I don't generally co-stream with people that are on fentanyl. Like, I don't know. That's kind of, it's not my crowd. If that's what you're saying, I mean, generally, like, don't you do fentanyl, guys? Okay. Uh, Glassworm attack, and they already ramped out the topology. Yeah. Well, what's good? Yes, if you don't have anything critical on that machine, you're 100% sure there's nothing critical on that machine, you can just wipe it. Don't wipe it just with like a B tree wipe. Just don't just format the hard drive and reinstall the OS. Like, do a byte level wipe. That's my recommendation. Something that is going to fully essentially blast the hard drive, and then you're safe to reinstall. That's what I would recommend. Okay. All right. Continuing. Cool. Oh yeah, thanks guys. WSL, yeah. Windows subsystem for Linux. All right. Okay, cool. Listen, I'm fried. That was a lot. Actually, it wasn't that much, but I've been doing this since maybe 7 a.m. because I got inspired by Instagram. I'll just share with you guys. I got a little inspired by Instagram because I was, as I think you guys know, I put a couple clips out there talking about how you probably want to be careful here. And, you know, I don't get trolled. I refuse to let myself get trolled by anybody. But a couple people had some disparaging comments basically saying that this was all make-believe and that I was only talking about this because I'm trying to get views or something, which I don't get views on Instagram and TikTok. I mean, I think any of you guys know that are really following GTT, you know where we get the views from. But then it made me realize that I think a lot of people don't understand what's really going on here. And so it did the reverse, as things like this normally do. I don't become disheartened when people give negative feedback that's off the mark. I become more inspired. So then, yeah, starting around 7 a.m., I started creating a whole set of new clips talking about how important this is. And I've been working on that since 5 hours before the stream. So I've been in stream mode or content creation mode for the last 7 hours. So I'm a little more fried. Yeah, Dark, I actually thought about this, just as an aside. I thought that if only the leak would have happened on April 1st, they could have almost completely played it off like it's an April 1st joke, and that's not really the Claude Code source. Of course, didn't work out that way, and yeah, they were one day too early. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna end the stream now. Let me carve up this VOD, and then I may get back online after the dog and I do a run or something, and we'll maybe talk about the collab coding, the vibe coding stuff. But I think we got the big issue of the security concerns with Claude Code, and so we can all feel like we're good human beings to minimally at least let people know that they're potentially at risk. And then if they choose to do nothing about it, it's not on us anymore, right? Like that was my big thing. Is I was feeling actually really bad that I didn't dive into this because I was just too busy with other things. And for me and the other security experts that I talk to on a daily basis, we were all kind of like, yeah, you know, whatever. And then it dawned on me that, people are getting like into a lot of hot water here. So we've made good forward progress. And maybe if we do the stream later tonight, we'll go back to Resident Evil just to relax our minds a little. I will say, just as a final closing comment, I couldn't stop myself, guys. I did actually launch Crimson Desert. I'm sorry, I couldn't. You guys know how much I love this genre. I couldn't not launch it. I launched it. I played around a little. I didn't really get anywhere in the game. I just wanted to get a sense of the controls. And I do have to say that early impressions are this game is actually pretty sweet. It's pretty cool. What's good? Yeah, thank you for joining the stream and finding us on Instagram and all this stuff. Yeah, and keep doing your software development, and maybe we'll level you up to collab coding instead of vibe coding. But minimally, I think as long as you're protected and don't end up accidentally getting a virus or a Trojan or something, I think everybody's good and golden. Excellent. All right, folks. Thanks, Jeters. Keep going.